Praise be Jesus Christ and Mary Immaculate. Welcome to this 28th Sunday in Ordinary Time. We're going to read from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 17, verses 11 through 19. As Jesus continued his journey to Jerusalem, he traveled through Samaria and Galilee. Now, this is almost impossible to do because, as we know, the geography is very clear. In the north is Galilee, Judea is in the south, and Samaria is in the middle. So in order to go to Jerusalem, you go through Galilee, through Samaria, and then to Judea. What the evangelist Luke is trying to tell us here by saying he traveled through Samaria and Galilee is the fact that this event happened in the land of the Jews, in land of religious people. This event happened among religious people. And he's given us a clue as to who the story is about by naming Samaria, which the story deals with a leper from Samaria, a Samaritan, hated by the Jews, despised by the Jews, and yet he returns to give thanks to God. And as he entered a village, 10 lepers met him. Anytime the gospel speaks about an anonymous village, it's making reference to the old way of doing things, to people who are close-minded to anything new, who like things the way they are, and who repeat the phrase, "We have always done it this way." So they're absolutely not open to anything new. And 10 lepers met him. This is sort of difficult to understand because lepers knew what they had to do. They knew that they had to stay away from the population, from people. The book of Leviticus chapter 13 verses 45 and 46 is very clear in saying that people who were lepers had to stay away from people and actually had to declare their presence by yelling out unclean or impure and leper, and maybe even ring bells around them to let the people know that they were coming this way, because they were considered both medically, politically, and religiously impure and unfit to be with people. And yet they stood at a distance from him and they raised their voices. They recognized Jesus and they call him out, "Jesus, Master, have pity on us." Two things catch my attention here. The first is that they recognize Jesus and they actually call him Master, which is the same name that all the disciples of Jesus used for him. So they recognize him as a teacher, as a healer, because you notice their request is not for money, is not for food, is not for medicine. What they ask for is mercy. Have mercy on us. Have pity on us. They recognize that Jesus comes not rich with money or power or medicine or food, but rich in mercy. And when he saw them, he said, "Go show yourselves to the priest." And maybe Jesus is asking them to go show themselves to the priest so that they can keep the law, so that they can keep the law that they have been kept away from because of their condition. And so he's sending them to the priest because the priest had the ability to declare somebody clean, both physically and ritually clean. We read this in the book of Leviticus chapter 14 verses 2. But also he sends them because he is sending them precisely to Jerusalem, to the temple, to the priest, to the people, to the institution, and to the religion that considered them unclean, that considered them unworthy, that considered them far away from God's reach. And maybe Jesus is sending them to them so that they can be converted, so that they can receive a clean heart, so that they can receive an open mind, so that they can have a healing in the way that they treat and they see people. And they did, and they went. And one of them, realizing that he had been healed, returned glorifying God in a loud voice. Now, here's something to pay attention to. All 10 of them went away with the confidence in the words of Jesus. All 10 of them obeyed Jesus. This was not a matter of faith. They all obeyed Jesus. They all went towards the priest, and they were all healed because they were obedient to the words of Jesus. The question for us is, how obedient am I to the commands of Jesus? How obedient am I when Jesus says, forgive your brother 70 times 7, turn the other cheek, pray for those who persecute you, do good to those who do evil to you? I mean, how obedient are we to the words of Jesus? These men all were obedient to Jesus and they were all healed. What distinguished the man, what made him different, what made him unique was his gratitude. Because his gratitude, And what makes it even more interesting is that it was a Samaritan who was grateful to God. No, a Samaritan who is despised by Jews, a person deemed outside of the salvation of God. He has no problem in thanking God. He has no problem in recognizing that God worked through this Jewish man. Even though he was different from him, God worked through him. That Jesus was a teacher who came and to heal him, and he has no problem recognizing such work of God. See, faith is not something given to us by God. Faith is our response to the openness of receiving God's grace in our lives, even from those whom we least expect it from. So what's the lesson for us? The lesson is for us to not discount the presence and the power of God among anyone, especially from those who our culture, our religion, our church considers outsiders or impure or unworthy or sinners. God can work through everyone. God bless you.